In case you missed it, there was an ICE raid this past Thursday on a California cannabis farm that resulted in hundreds of arrests. A child predator was arrested, as you can see here, and 11 migrant kids were rescued. But of course, CNN Danabash had to turn this into ICE agents are bad. Amazing.
President Trump's borders are. Tom Homan, thank you so much for joining me this morning, sir. I do want to start with that ruling. The judge ordered the administration to stop making indiscriminate immigration arrests in the Los Angeles area and denying detainees right to legal counsel. She wrote that, quote, roving patrols without reasonable suspicion violate the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution, and denying access to lawyers violates the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. Will the administration comply with this order?
Look, we're going to litigate that order because I think the order's wrong. I mean, she's assuming that the officers don't have reasonable suspicion. You know, they don't need probable cause to briefly detain and question somebody. They just need reasonable suspicion, and that's based on many articulable facts. So unless she's in the officer's mind, I don't know how she make that, decision that, well, they're not using reasonable suspicion. How does she know that? I mean, every officer has to, bring articulable facts to raise reasonable suspicion, and then it can briefly detain. Well, I don't know how she knows that, but I don't think any federal judge can dictate immigration policy. That's a matter for Congress and for the president, and I know the Department of Justice is going to litigate this. We want to take it to the appeals court.
I just want to ask more broadly and a little bit of a different sort of question here. One thing I have heard over and over anecdotally is that people who are in the United States legally are scared about getting swept up in all of this because of the color of their skin, because they speak with an accent, because of the location where they might be going. And they're not going out. They don't want to be detained by mistake, have their kids or themselves traumatized. Are you comfortable with that?
If they're in the country legally, they got no reason to be afraid. ICE is looking for those in the country legally, and we're still prioritizing public safety threats and national security threats. That's the priority. But like I said, we do have collateral arrests in many areas because we're out looking for those public safety threats. But we're going to enforce immigration law, too. I mean, it's not okay to be in this country legally. It's not okay to enter this country legally. It's a crime. But legal aliens and U.S. citizens should not be afraid that they're going to be swept up in a raid. We know who we're looking for, and that's what the agents are out there seeking. And they use a lot of information. Most of the operations we conduct are targeted enforcement operations. When we go out, we know exactly who we're looking for. Most likely we'll find them. Many times we have a criminal history and immigration history when we go out looking for that person. So if you're in the country legally, you shouldn't fear ICE. What you should fear is the criminal aliens walking the communities in sanctuary cities.
Let's turn to the raids this week on two cannabis farms in California. ICE says more than 200 undocumented immigrants were detained. The United Farmers Workers Union says multiple workers were critically injured. One, 57-year-old Jaime Alanis Garcia, died after falling 30 feet from a greenhouse roof while fleeing ICE agents. That's according to his family. What's your reaction to that? Somebody losing their life running from ICE?
It's sad. It's unfortunate. He was in ICE custody, and ICE did not have hands on this person, but it's always unfortunate when there's deaths. I mean, no one wants to see people die, and they were doing the job. They were serving criminal arrest warrants. I mean, the criminal search warrants. And I see the media saying, well, it was an ICE raid. No, they were serving criminal search warrants as part of a criminal investigation involved with child trafficking, child labor. I think it was total 11 children that were found on that farm. And now they're being interviewed, forensics interviews, find out, are they victims of trafficking? If so, who is the subject of that trafficking? And let's hold some people accountable. So it's unfortunate when anybody dies.
I do want to turn to what is going on in Florida, and that is what the administration, what you call Alligator Alcatraz, was visited by Democratic members of Congress yesterday. They were given limited access, and this, of course, is a new detention facility set up by Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. What these Congress people described was sweltering heat, bug infestations, meager meals. They say they heard detainees crying out for help. The wife of one man detained there said he's not been given access to a lawyer. He's been in detention for about 2 weeks. Is that acceptable to you? And is that what you're seeing when you go?
I have not been there yet, and I doubt a lot of that's factual. I mean, bottom line is, from the day one, I've been doing this job since 1984. Detainees complain about the conditions of detention. And I've said this many times. You can simply go to ice.gov and look at the detention standards ICE has. They have the highest detention standards in the industry. But these same congressmen that are complaining about alligator Alcatraz, you didn't see them complaining about, under Biden administration, people being held in a Border Patrol parking lot surrounded by a fence in the sweltering heat. Not a word. You didn't hear a word about 500,000 children being trafficked in the country and them not being able to locate 300,000. President Trump, this administration, is finding thousands of those children. So, they have a lot of anger under President Trump on how we're doing business, and they ignored 4 years of open borders, historic migrant death, historic Americans dying from fentanyl, historic numbers of women and children being sex trafficked, historic number of people on terrorist watch lists coming across the border. Silence.
Yep.
Because they're complicit because they didn't take the administration on and ask them to secure the border. You can't have strong national security in this country if we don't have border security. We got to know who's coming and what's coming and where it's coming from. But instead, they kept silent and they kept feeding the American people, we have a secure border, and we did not.
Okay. Mr. Homan, I know you have to go to catch a plane. Thank you so much for being here this morning. I appreciate it.
I don't care what anybody has to say. This man and the Trump administration is doing a great job. And in case you didn't know, crime rate appears to be significantly down in the US in 2025. So yes, God bless them. You let me know what you think about this in the comment section. God bless you and your family. Catch you on the next one.